They are small, fragile, and often overlooked. Yet without them, our world would fall silent. The hum of bees, that gentle sound floating through the air, is more than just nature's background music. It's the heartbeat of life itself. Bees are indispensable to global agriculture, ecosystems, and food security. They are the world's primary pollinators, tiny workers responsible for sustaining over 3/4 of the world's food crops and nearly 90% of all flowering plants. Without them, most of what we eat and much of what sustains our planet would vanish. The biology of pollination. To understand why bees matter, we need to look at what they actually do. Pollination is one of nature's most important processes, the transfer of pollen from the male part of a flower to the female part. This simple act allows plants to produce seeds, fruits, and new life. Bees are masters of this process. Their fuzzy, hair-covered bodies are perfectly designed to trap pollen. When a bee lands on a flower, it collects nectar, its food source, and in the process, pollen sticks to its tiny hairs. As the bee flies to another flower, some of that pollen rubs off, completing fertilization. Unlike the wind or random insects, bees are deliberate and efficient. They often visit the same type of flower repeatedly in one trip, ensuring that pollen gets where it's needed most. This consistent behavior, called floral constancy, makes bees the most effective pollinators on Earth. Some species, like bumblebees, take it even further. Through a process known as buzz pollination, they vibrate their bodies at specific frequencies, shaking loose pollen that's otherwise trapped inside certain flowers, like tomatoes and blueberries. It's a natural engineering marvel. Because of these traits, roughly 100 major crops, from apples and almonds to cucumbers and coffee, depend directly on bee pollination. Without them, our diets would shrink dramatically, and many foods we love would become rare or disappear entirely. Bees as the architects of nature. But bees do far more than feed humans. They are keystone species, organisms that hold ecosystems together. Remove them, and everything else begins to unravel. By pollinating wild plants, bees maintain plant diversity and help sustain forests, grasslands, and meadows. These plants, in turn, feed birds, mammals, and countless insects. Even animals that never encounter a bee, from bears to humans, depend on the chain of life bees keep alive. According to the Food and Agriculture Organization, pollinators like bees are essential to 87 out of 115 leading global food crops. Their activity supports the livelihoods of over 1.4 billion people, especially small farmers in developing regions. For many of these communities, bee-pollinated crops are a primary source of both food and income. Bees also help regulate the environment in ways that aren't always obvious. Healthy, pollinated ecosystems improve soil fertility, store more carbon, and provide natural protection against erosion and drought. In other words, bees don't just help plants grow, they help the planet breathe. When we talk about climate resilience, we rarely mention bees. Yet they are nature's frontline defenders against environmental collapse. The economic power of pollinators' bees are not only ecological heroes, they are economic ones too. Their invisible labor adds billions of dollars to the global economy each year. In the United States, honeybees pollinate crops worth around $15 to $17 billion annually. In Australia, their pollination benefits about 2/3 of agricultural output, an estimated $14.2 billion every year. Worldwide, 1 in every 3 bites of food we take exists because of pollinators. Their work directly supports production of fruits, nuts, vegetables, oilseeds, and coffee, foods essential to human health and nutrition. Even livestock feed like alfalfa relies on bee pollination, meaning our dairy and meat industries also depend indirectly on bees. Beyond quantity, bee pollination improves quality, making fruits larger, sweeter, and longer lasting. Farmers see higher yields and better prices, while consumers enjoy more nutritious and flavorful food. The ripple effect of each pollination flight extends from a single flower to entire food systems and economies. When you see a bee land on a blossom, you're watching the smallest worker in the world's largest agricultural network. The silent decline. But there's a problem, a crisis spreading quietly across continents. Bees are dying. Over the past few decades, global bee populations have been in steep decline. The reasons are complex but interconnected: pesticide exposure, habitat loss, monoculture farming, parasites, and climate change. Neonicotinoid pesticides, used widely in agriculture, can disorient bees, impair their memory, and weaken their immune systems. Even at low doses, these chemicals interfere with their ability to navigate back to their hives. Habitat loss is another major threat. Urban expansion, deforestation, and monoculture farming strip the land of wildflowers and nesting sites, leaving bees without food or shelter. In many places, blooming periods have also shifted due to rising temperatures, causing a mismatch between flowers and the bees that pollinate them. The result? Entire colonies collapse. In some regions, bee populations have dropped by more than 40%. The Intergovernmental Science Policy Platform on Biodiversity and Ecosystem Services warns that nearly 40% of pollinator species, mostly bees and butterflies, now face extinction. Without intervention, the consequences could be catastrophic. Food prices would rise, nutritional diversity would decline, and the delicate balance of ecosystems could collapse, taking much of the natural world with it. Fighting back. How to protect the pollinators. Fortunately, there's hope and action. Around the world, scientists, farmers, and communities are working to reverse the decline. Simple changes can make a big difference. Planting native flowers, avoiding harmful pesticides, and providing nesting spaces all help create bee-friendly habitats. Rotating crops and mixing flowering plants into farmlands restores the natural balance that industrial agriculture disrupted. Governments and organizations are also stepping in. The European Union has banned several harmful pesticides. In many countries, urban bee corridors and pollinator gardens are being created to give bees safe routes through cities. Beekeepers are breeding more resilient colonies, while scientists study how to combat parasites like the varroa mite without harming the environment. Every year on May 20th, the world celebrates World Bee Day, a reminder that protecting bees is not optional, it's essential. They are not just honey producers, they are the foundation of sustainable agriculture and biodiversity. When we protect bees, we protect our future. Beyond the buzz, the bigger picture. It's easy to take bees for granted. They don't roar or soar, they don't command attention, but they hold together the web of life in quiet, invisible ways. Each flower they visit, each pollen grain they carry, is part of a story billions of years old, the story of how life sustains itself. From the almond groves of California to the wild meadows of Europe and the coffee farms of Africa, bees connect us all. Every seed, fruit, and flower owes something to their labor. Imagine a world without them: empty fields, silent orchards, and colorless gardens. That is the world we risk if we continue to ignore their decline. Yet it doesn't have to end that way. We have the knowledge, the technology, and the responsibility to change course, to make space again for the creatures that keep our planet alive. Bees remind us that the smallest lives can have the biggest impact. Their survival is our survival. So the next time you hear that soft hum drifting through a summer garden, remember, that sound is not just a sign of nature. It's a reminder of balance, resilience, and the delicate miracle of life itself.